back. It's been pretty phenomenal. On the first trip about a month ago, just to see, okay, what are we doing here? I was really dumbstruck by the city, very much impressed. And I like the vibe, and I'm surprised, demographically speaking, the ratio of people that really care about the arts versus the size of the population boggled me. I was like, whoa, this is an art town. And I've been saying that since I've been back in LA for the last 5 or 6 weeks, trying to direct some of the artists that are, everybody thinks that the only thing going on in the art world is West Coast, New York, maybe Chicago now and then, but there's a lot in between. And I do a lot of road traveling, or what I call trunk shows, where I take most of this work and music collectors or museum people that look at the art body of work. I've been on the road a lot, and it's always great to hit a new city. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Just encounter a whole new city where I have my own opinion, like going, wow, this is a cool town. This is really, really awesome. And the support that the arts get to blew me away. I've been texting Shepherd Ferry for the last 3 or 4 days saying, dude, you've got to come out here. Because he's a Southerner. I don't know if you know him. Charlotte? He's in North Carolina or something? Born and bred, Southerner. Before he came to LA. Anyway, I've been saying, get your butt out here and do some pieces here. Because I think it would be really important to all of us to support the arts that are going on. So we brought a little bit of Los Angeles, and because of the internet, and God, and the amount of artists that we're dealing with, there's a pretty decent selection of international so-called rock stars. Because right now, the hottest thing in the art world, at least for another 20 minutes, is urban street art. And we happen to be the go-to studio for the last 15 years of pretty much every major urban street artist, from Banksy, Shepherd, Swoon in New York, Deface in London, Black Lorette in Paris, Tao Dong Dong in Beijing. So we're pretty lucky that in LA, all these bizarro art characters are coming into town and doing projects with us. And the pleasure of working with them is they always push the envelope with us. So when I came out last month, I think I brought twice as much work that was here. And then Megan and I sat down upstairs and curated the work, where at one point it became a grouping of a narrative. So hence the group titles underneath. But what I'm going to do is give you a walkthrough, starting maybe with the street art aspect of what happens in our studio, and then we'll just swing around. And I'll just give you
Feel free to get tight and close.
Yeah. And if I can give you, I'll share all these anecdotes and stories behind certain trends, but maybe at the end, if we can have a Q&A, I'm totally going to show. So, there's 2 people on this wall that they don't claim it, but the world has claimed that they are the 2 biggest proponents of urban art, street art, graffiti art being able to cross over, where the regular graffiti artists of the last 25 years didn't get a lot of love from the academic and museum world. At one point, because of Banksy and Shepherd's work, it started tearing down that wall. That eventually led to a show that happened 2 years ago in Los Angeles called Art on the Streets, that was curated by Jeffrey Deitch, who ran a gallery in New York, which was a platform for emerging cool hip artists, just smart stuff, fresh stuff. And then eventually closed its gallery and took the position of directorship of MoCA. And if there seems to be a lot of people that follow everything, found out. So you probably have since heard, some of you, that Jeffrey Deitch has been pushed out of Los Angeles. So, the momentum has already started, so they can't shut the door down on urban street or graffiti art right now. What they've been doing is breaking it up into genres, just to propel certain groups of people, which will be one of them that when we move on to the group. But anyway, Shepherd Ferry has been a friend of mine for about 12 years. When I first met him, I didn't know him from Boo. But once he came into our studio, we did prints with him. He's got a standard palette, you can pretty much see it. As soon as our studio is 35 years old, and we go through periods of 5 or 6 years, for some reason there's a certain genre of artists that start booking us. We're a for-profit print studio that also publishes artists. So when there's downtime, I pick up the phone with somebody I really like, and I say, come on in, we've got a week, let's rock some shit. Anyway, we were in a period where we were kind of winding down with what they call the Venice geriatrics in Los Angeles. They're rock stars, Ed Ruscha, Ed Moses, Billy L. Benson, and we were getting less and less work because they're getting older and they're doing less projects. And right when I thought we were about ready to basically shut down, I got a phone call from a young man moving up from San Diego, I think it was Shepard Ferry, that said, somebody recommended that I meet you. And we met, and he said, I want you to do my large format print. So we started doing his work. The great thing about working with Shepard was, as soon as we did that, unbeknownst to me, it's like, this is how dumb and naive I am. The phone started ringing off the hook, and we started getting web inquiries because evidently Shepard has a major presence globally. So all the major artists that were up and coming started calling us up, and it kind of, I don't know what you call it, like rebooted us, refreshed us as, okay, this is the studio to work with. So we've had a pilot at our door for the last 8 or 9 years that have allowed us to now indulge artists that would never otherwise have an opportunity. Our company's positioned where, for the last 35 years, that's our mission. And I should have brought my mission statement, but it's basically all Gemini GEL Pace editions in New York. They all have been publishing artists ad nauseum, the same artists for about 25 years. So when I started my studio 35 years ago, I made it a point to say, I am going to position myself to be available to emerging young artists that are locked out of a system that can't allow anybody new in. And so I started bringing in people like Raymond Pettibone, who's blown up really big. And I met Keith Haring in New York in 1980, flew him out to Los Angeles, and we did some prints with him in a show. So we got positioned as being a really pretty much like artspace. We were running a print studio, a show space, not with an intent to be a real gallery, but a platform to show people's work, a record label. We were just scattershot, trying to support what was coming up and not bury it. In the case of Shepard, once we were introduced to him and that whole insane audience of well, they're almost shrilled maniacs, fanatics, the phone started ringing for us. And we got Saber, who came in. This is a print that is probably about 3 or 4 colors. And if you can see the can work in those colors, this is where they start breaking the mold. Artists will say, well, why do I have to have every print look exactly the same? Why can't I play with it between color groups? And I never say no to an artist. I just said, okay, let's do what you want to do. In the case of Saber, he took what was going to be a 3 or 4 color print. In the course of production, he'd stop us and he'd spray each piece. And then he'd say, okay, keep running. We do 2 or 3 more colors and then he'd stop us and he'd individualize the prints. So this became, it didn't start with him because this is probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But we started to have to come up with, do you have a question?
I did. Would the spray paint clog up your screens, or did you have to?
Oh, no. He did them off to the side. Yeah. But what we had to figure out is, okay, prints are supposed to be identical, and they're supposed to be signed and authenticated and numbered. And all of a sudden, we're seeing prints that are being, from piece to piece to piece, having a personality. They're generally shared stencils, but they start having a personality of their own. So we had to come up with this whole new numbering or system called HPM. And you'll see it on some of these printers. Stood for hand painted multiples. And Shepard caught on from Sabre, and he's, I don't have any HPMs of his because they're like $14,000, and I couldn't borrow one from him. But Shepard started doing regular editions like you see here, and then taking a portion of his edition and distressing it with sandpaper, wood paint, spray can, and then created a subgroup that he was able to market not at $1,000, but 10 of these that have been touched up at $10,000. So this is a cross-section of work that we've done with Shepard, so you know that who he is, I believe, right, everybody. After the Obama campaign, Shepard, you know, transcended just the art world, which he was already somebody who became a cultural phenomenon, right? Up above there, this tiled up spray can. This is an artist from France, Paris. His name is Speedy Graffito. He's about 50 now. He flies into LA. Most of his work was all of these. About 20 years ago, he crossed over and started doing multiples and works on paper. So eventually they stopped. They do wall work to maintain their reputation, but it's so ephemeral and nobody can buy it that eventually they start doing pieces archivally to indulge an audience which is hungry for their work. The one gun, the red gun up there, is an artist from New York, Mark Dean Becca, that does these pieces on the wall. We brought him in. This one I'm proud to say we published because I love Mark Dean's work. Becca's work. He's kind of considered lowbrow, but he's a street artist that carried over and now has become running with this path. This is, I guess we put it up there because it's like $14,000. That is Banksy. In 2006, Shepard gave me a call and he said there's an English artist coming in. He needs a printmaker for a show that he's going to do in Los Angeles in a warehouse. It became like basically the show and the artist that broke the dam. Okay, and he did an installation in a warehouse about twice the size of this, over 72 hours, and they sold $5 million worth of his pieces. Awesome. Banksy donated his half of all this money to charity. So Banksy's truly a revolutionary artist. And he was in our studio for 9 days, I gotta tell you. Englishman with bad teeth, never changed his clothes. I didn't know who he was. Shepard just said, Richard, whatever you do, hold on to your printers. Because we pull printers with us or whatever. He just got bad teeth and smells bad. But he was a totally cool guy. Anyway, this is only one of 6 prints that we did because I couldn't say no to the money that was offered when my printers group came. People found out that I had printers groups. Awesome guy to work with. It's been 6 years and I'm still begging to try to get him into our studio. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? They came from street art and now they're legitimate, but they go back to the street art to stay legitimate in the street art.
Yeah, they maintain street cred.
Street cred. So they don't get permission probably to put their street art up. They work illegally, most of them?
Yeah.
Okay, and so is that like a cool thing to put things up illegally? Because we're having a controversy in Shreveport whether that's something that's cool. I mean, not that you would enforce it, but it's done. I'm just asking, is it done in the real art world?
Well, I think at one point you've got such a high profile that you have to go legit with sponsored balls and people that are signing off because Shepard, I think he's been arrested almost 12 times.
Right.
And his wife said, no more. At this point, any piece you do on the wall has got to be legal.
But they started out, right, but they started out illegal because you don't get to go get permission if you're street art. Right?
Banksy is still, nobody knows what he looks like, he still does walls illegally. Yes, sir.
I just checked my Street Cred app on my iPhone, and it says unequivocally, if you have to ask, it's not cool.
If you have to ask what?
If you have to ask, it's not cool.
Oh, right. That's what, yeah. But, you know, I don't know, a couple days ago, Banksy, in the New York Times, I know the wall in Los Angeles. I think I picked up the New York Times, and there was that somebody carved out a 9 by 10-foot brick wall and is putting it up at auction. That's the most annoying thing for him, but he can't stop it now. For all the people that were stealing his work, he set up authentication sites to deny all the pieces that were stolen.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was called, you can go on site, it's called pest control. It's pretty irreverent. So anybody that tries to sell a stolen piece,
Right.
he completely denies it and no authentication. So the secondary market on stolen work, he's trying to squelch, but it's impossible. And now that piece in London sold for 1.1 million pounds, I believe, and then this thing that's coming up in Los Angeles means that even his firewall, pest control, is not going to stop the momentum of what's going on. Oh yeah, online, after our 9 days, which Banksy, I had a falling out with his dealer, Steve Lazzariti, and I was sued for the ownership of what's called ephemera. If anybody's seen in the back, as I'm working with 5 Shreveport artists right now, there's a bunch of material that's happening. Stencils, notes, proofs. That's all ephemera that happens while you're marching towards a finished print. In the case of Banksy, and that always traditionally belongs to the print studio. I sleeve mine because I have 2 universities that are collecting my letters and papers and my ephemera and my archives. So, and nobody ever cares about it. In the case of Banksy, everything was valuable, right down to a pizza box that was found in a dumpster that claims he ate out of it and sold it. It's kind of become insane, but his dealer got upset that I had all the notes in ephemera, and he said, I want that back. And I said, it belongs to me. Then it became a lawsuit, 2 law firms. I had to get a law firm, and at one point I spent too much money, and I said, okay, come in, I'm going to destroy it on camera. So I think you see me destroying about $75,000 worth of Banksys and having a poop about it.
What cut does your gallery
Yeah, I
give?
do.
What cut do you give to the artist for you?
What is that?
Like percentage-wise? Somebody sells something at your gallery.
Well, we don't really run a gallery. We kind of have a showroom, and we only sell our printed goods. In the case of Banksy's work, we got paid $18,000 to produce 600 prints, 100 separate images, all right? And it came down to about $30 a view. All right, that print, they paid me $30 a view to produce 100 of those. So I think you can see it's about 3 colors. It's a field green, yellow, black, not much, and the red for production. $32 a unit. And there's no rhyme or reason in the art world. The intrinsic costs of materials to make a piece of artwork, they wind up being like $40 for canvas and paint. In his case, he would buy generic 12-inch canvases of Aaron Brothers. I guess they call them Bobby. Bobby there. You know, where you can just pick up $5 canvases. Banksy would buy prefab canvases, and with his stencil work spray, we did a stencil piece, Banksy style back there that you could take a look at. And then down, the most famous piece is the flower print, right? So he took 12 by 12-inch canvases that cost him $5, stenciled it, and then gapped like 3 or 4 marks on the flowers. Probably all 2 minutes. In 2002, when he had his first show in LA, he couldn't give them away. They were $200. So when he left LA, he gave them as gifts, so he wouldn't have to take it back to him. But nobody knew him. One of those pieces, which I happened to get, for being a nice guy, I guess. I couldn't say no. I took an offer for $130,000 in cash from the dealer. So that was at the top of the insanity to me, everybody in the know was like, this is totally insane. But I have to say, fueled our company for the next 3 years. But the production that we created at $18,000 created for them $600,000 worth of prints on the first pass of sales, meaning the phenomenon of Banksy in 2006 was people would buy the print for $600, and the next day post it online for $1,200, and they buy it for $1,200, and they would post it online for $2,400. So the madness just kept going. Does that make sense?
Yes.
He's not about that because he doesn't see any of that money. Yeah. So let's keep going. So what's happened in the last 3 or 4 years is a subgenre from the graffiti world called calligraphy. And these are graffiti artists that have honed the craft of typography in their own style. It's almost their own hieroglyphs. And this seems to be the hottest thing going on right now. There's a publication on the table on one of the artists named Luca Barcelona and Mexico. This is Luca's work. So Luca is a master calligrapher that gets flown around the world to universities to teach calligraphy as though he was a 14th century monk. Amazing. And Luca is about 32. Luca is a protege of one of the longest acknowledged, probably Guinness Book of Records, graffiti artist, whose name is Charles Orgaz, who goes by the name Chaz. Chaz has influenced about half a dozen calligraphy artists now that are blowing up around the world. Charlie, I know him as Charlie, he's a dear friend of mine for about 30 years. Charlie, of course, created his own alphabet and stylized it. I mean, I think, can you read what he said there? Los. It's up there, Los, L-O-S, Locos, De, Cali. So it's a hieroglyph that if you break the code, you can read it, you know, and then you know what they're saying on the street. That's where, it's called blockouts, markings in Los Angeles. This is where this kind of stuff is really about gangs talking to each other and not having the police knowing what's said because it's till they break the code. Right, so Charlie has developed such a stylized calligraphy, and we're talking about working for about 45 years on the street, that some of these kids from around the world that have seen these, because everybody's posting pictures and this and that, have started copying his work, and then they change it to make it their own way. In the case of Luca Barcelona, he's stretched it and made it a little bit more painterly, all right? That's Luca's work up there, but very much influenced by Chaz. And Chaz, he talks, sings Chaz praise in the article in the Junkie book, if you want to go through it. Luca was back in our studio. This was February, and we did this in 24 hours. That's how fast this is. We like fast and furious. And then he came back in June while I was working on a commission for the Jimi Hendrix estate, which was a commission for me to do a portrait that's official. He came in to do a print and was started to, this is a great thing, I think about the graffiti art world, is there's more cooperation and willingness to work with each other than traditional studio artists that go, you know, if you say, did you collaborate? They go, no fucking way. You paint your paint, but why should we collaborate? I think it's because they all work as crews for decades. Graffiti crews are a group of guys. So they're used to thinking it's all a collaborative thing. So it's not uncommon for when somebody's working in a studio, if somebody drops by and they say, can I hit your piece? They just go, knock yourself out. So in that same spirit, Luca, who flew back in after the success of this trip in February, we brought him back in from Italy. He's from Milan. And then he said, okay, I'm going to do a piece, homage to my master, Chaz. This is Chaz also. And while I was working on the Jimi Hendrix thing, we started drifting and playing Jimi Hendrix CDs. And then his whole body of work, which was 6 prints, was a total dedication to Jimi Hendrix. That wasn't enough. That was his stuff. Then I was working on my Jimi Hendrix portrait, and he walks over and he says, "Can I hit it?" I couldn't say no. So he did over the calligraphy writing, which is it's a lyric. They're lyrics from a Jimi Hendrix song. But we printed this, and the family, the daughter, or I think it's his sister, Jamie Hendrix, sister, saw this piece and she said, "This is it. This is the official portrait." This is once again Chad. We got him on the far right and right here. Chad is a god. I can't say anything more. Internationally respected, flown around. He's about 65 now, and wherever he goes, he's like a rock star. Just they come out of the woodwork. These kids, they come out of their books, which is, they're all copied. You can already see he's breaking out. The next guy that was very much influenced is a Korean-born, soul-born Korean that now lives in Los Angeles. I don't even know the name, but he hangs out in his crypto. And there's a publication related to this body of work. He's very spiritual. All his pieces are on the street about, he's a totally spiritual Eastern mysticism kind of guy, which is kind of cool. It's not just throwing up the bag about a group of these with, it's all about accommodating what he believes. We got to hold hands. But that's a portfolio work that he did. But you can see that his calligraphy style is almost a cross between Sanskrit and some Hebrew or Arabic, right?
Was that Chaz in a gang?
I don't.
Saw what the gangs were doing.
He was a writer, and in order to put pieces up, he had to put pieces that acknowledged that gang and that neighborhood so he wouldn't get shot. So unofficially, he became you can see here, there's a 43 down below. So that's Avenue 43. There's a gang called the Absence that's around here. He was born and raised in that neighborhood. He never was part of the gang, but he wanted to put pieces up. He had to put 43 on Avenue 43.
Is he LA based?
Oh yeah, within a slightly east of town. Another artist from Boyle Heights, which is a community east of downtown, just over the river, which was the Alice Island of Los Angeles. It was a Jewish community that then became a Japanese community, that then became a Mexican community. So there's all these hybrid fields. And this is Defer is his street name. Kizu is his real Japanese name, but he's basically a Mexican. It's kind of weird. Japanese, but raised in East Los Angeles. He's a Mexican in Boyle Heights. So he is, once again, very much influenced by what he was seeing on the street. And more importantly, the most influential person for Defer, if you look back here, that's his calligraphy, which was influenced by Chad. The only artist that's not represented here, but you'll see it in the publication Juxtaposed, if you flip through my article, is Retina. Retina right now, does that ring a bell yet? Right, okay, Retina in the last year is just shot through the roof. And a lot of people believe it's because Damien Hirst flew to LA, limo to his studio, picked 8 paintings, jumped back in the limo, went back to the airport, went back to London, and when the word got out that the #1 artist in the world is buying this one calligraphy artist in Los Angeles, Retina, boom, then everybody was queuing up. Museum directors, major collectors that, now you've got to have a Retina next to your Clifford Still and next to your Ed Richet, you got to get our Retina, honey. Anyway, his style is a hybrid of Chaz and Retina. So, like I said, if you thumb through one of those pages, you'll see Retina working on his work. So this is now the hottest thing going on right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but it seems like, okay, the whole eyeball in the art world has gone from, okay, we're enough of Banksy and Shepard Fairey. Let's explore what this whole new hieroglyphic writing like graph artists are doing. Because there's more technique and skill. Almost, I mean, they're calligraphers. I virtually live in my studio, so whenever I'm working, there's always a project where we're doing with an artist, and I just mentioned in the case of Luca, while he was there, we have a residence program. So they actually live in the studio. We have 2 production studios. One is like the bubble, where we really buffer them and just focus on helping them get to explore whatever they want to do. That's also my studio, so I wind up while I'm working on my stuff, they come over and they go, can I riff with you, or can I just hit your work? And I say, yeah. In this case, it was Luca, while I was working on Elvis, said, let me hit this one. I was also doing my geisha piece, and if you can see the background pattern, okay, this piece is actually called Geisha Wu. I don't know if it's in the booklet, is that Geisha Wu?
Yes.
All right. So Luca is fixated on hip-hop, American hip-hop. That's all he was torturing us virtually all day long when he was looking. And in particular, the Wu-Tang Clan were fixated on martial art, movie stuff, whatever. So while I was working on my geisha, he started playing Wu-Tang. And then he said, dude, I'm going to hit this piece. So that pattern is a Wu-Tang Clan lyric. It's just a texture, but for him it's like, I'm going to hit the piece and I'm going to give you a texture and then you're going to print it and I just go, okay, right. No worries. This is a piece that, unfortunately, the artist is Albert Reyes, who's the Raymond Petty. A lot of people think he's the next Raymond Pettibone in Los Angeles. I don't know if you're familiar with Pettibone's work, but he came out of the punk scene and now he's an international superstar. A lot of people think that Albert Reyes is because his sense of humor or his aesthetic is so irreverent and frankly sometimes insane, because we've got one of his prints way at the top there, that big booty girl. Anyway, he came in and he said, hey dude, I got this skinny ass picture of, tweaked out Lindsay Lohan. So he said, you do your thing, which was basically, I just blow up the picture and I put a bar of color and I said, I'm done. What do you want to do? He said, I want a pink here, I want to spray can that, and then I want to do this. And then the last thing was he wanted me to print a picture of Little Wayne on top of her face. And I said, look, we're never going to sell that, that. I mean, we might as well just carpet the floor with it. So he's still debating this with me, because he said, dude, if you don't do that, I said, you're going to destroy the print. He said, I'll let you think about it. It's been about a month. But anyway, I thought I'd bring, this is essentially a progressive, right?
Hey, Richard,
Yes.
can you tell us about the actual technical process whenever someone wants to copy it from a line? Does that happen on a proof print and then it's digitized, or?
Well, when it comes with the artists that we're working with, we pretty much have to realize exactly what they want. And when it comes to my work, I don't have a maquette. I don't even have an idea. I just have a picture, and then I scan it and I blow it up, and I'll stare at it sometimes. In the case of the geisha, which I just completed in May, while Luca was there, I had that positive pinned in my wall for 10 years. And then I just got a bug up my butt, and I said, okay, I'm going to hit it. And once I start, I don't know where I'm going. I break every rule in printmaking because it's the only relief I have from being a perfectionist as a service. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It's my relief. Yeah. I want to be a slob. I want to fuck it up. I don't care if it's misregistered. I just want to go until it's done. So my work is pretty all over the place. I like to break a frame. See how it's out of there. I like to do stupid things, and fortunately a lot of people like my stupid things when I break out of the frame. I just work impulsively.
So, like, on a print like this, you know, if you're gonna reproduce what would go in bits and pieces.
Well, no two prints look alike, and I think I only did 9 of these. HBM, it says 5 of 9 HBM. But after I was filtering, I break out tan, and I break out pastels. I keep going on each piece, so 2 pieces. They share something, you know, foreground or background, the figure, and then everything else is all over the map.
So do you think that you're able to do that and have that freedom because your work is not that precious to you, you just make it
Yeah.
go?
Yeah, true. I'm like, I'm a Chicano. We're gonna hit that over there. But I never made it like most Chicanos because I didn't do Chicano work. So, but I've been far more successful than them. But I don't get the love. Like basically, if you could call that a crew, Chicano art, I'm respected, but I'm not considered official. If you call street art this genre, I do work that's been on the street, even predates some of these artists by 15 years, but I don't fit them. And I do this sort of stuff, which honestly, and I'm going to be really frank with you, I'm grateful that I sell. I have a great market in Europe, but I call my stuff for what it is. I call it pop schlop. So it gives me the freedom to go, I'm not going to take myself serious. I'm just going to do something because for me it's a process, it's not the end result. When the piece is done, it's like coming down from a drug high. It's nothing but residue. You know, I don't care anymore. The party's over, which was doing it. And a lot of painters or artists, if there's any artists there, you know, you get into the zone where you're just part of a process. You just happen to be the organic part holding the brush and making the mark. It's kind of weird. There's some artists here, right? Am I like, you get me?
Yes.
I mean, just like athletes, when they talk about being in that zone where it's not about the race and winning, but they're just doing it, right? It's a great place to be, and that's where I get off. And when it's all said and done, I just look at it and I go, whatever. It's residue. You hand it over to the merchant. Let them sell it. Let them package it. I just want to get on with the next projects. So many artists in the last 5 years in the graffiti world have been riffing on the American flag, which is nothing new, because you can go back 50 years ago when Jasper Johns started riffing on the American flag. So for some strange reason, about 5 years ago, Shepard, Saber did some great works on Napoli's paper. If you go online and go through our archives, and then a couple other artists started riffing on the flag. And we do a lot of the prints. So about 6 months ago, I said, enough already. Now I'm going to riff on them, riffing on the flag. So this is only 4 of a series of 7 prints that are going to be shown at the gallery representing me in Dallas. But I wanted to show them because I like them. But this is I can do this with Shepard. I'm basically riffing on Shepard's Obey, right? And it all started with this made in China thing that I wanted to overprint. It's, I guess you could say, like a social commentary, maybe political. And I've always felt, after reading Malcolm X's autobiography, that he was a phenomenal, I mean, he went through some changes and hit a point of enlightenment that led to basically him getting assassinated, all right? So I thought here's another person that just started hard and evolved and broke through, and the end result was we gotta waste you because you're not doing it right. So I always felt that he was, in hindsight, in my mind, like a great American. You know, started fucked up and evolved, and then went for a more egalitarian and a fair world. Anyway, I did my riffs on the American flag, and I quoted Malcolm X. And this one's a clean one. And then I did one on John. I found this quote that blew me away. John Kennedy, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. And I went, whoa, this guy said some heavy shit here. And of course, he got shot too, not for that statement. But in doing these prints, as soon as we ran the text, and it's marbleized, if you look in there, us working people, everybody, John, Jeremy, right? You know your key line drawing? Take a look at this because you can try this on the screen before you pull. This is an effect that makes it look more complicated than it seems. You kind of intuitively develop tricks. I said it earlier when we started the first day of the workshop. I said my philosophy as a printmaker is the least amount of effort for the maximum return. So we've learned some tricks that kind of shock and awe people when it's actually a cakewalk in the studio for us. This indicates one of those. I wanted to distress this, so as soon as we printed the text, I had my assistant hold it up in that spritzer bottle that we have to clean up. I spritzered the print to get this drip. Unfortunately, I guess I sent one over that, well, this one did get spritzered because it's all starting to break up here. It just ran clear, I guess. This is an artist by the name of Dave Lefner, who's known for his reductive printmaking and lino cuts. And most of his pieces are 12 by 12. And every now and then, his studio is 2 blocks from mine, I go over to his place and I fall in love with one of his lino cuts. And then we bring them to our studio and scale it up and we publish them. Anyway, swinging over here. Pretty much we've seen prints that on this wall are on the average of between maybe 6 to 12 colors max. This artist is one of my dearest friends that passed away about 20 years ago. Is Carlos Almaraz. He's considered probably the most respected and renowned Mexican-American, aka Chicano. I don't know. Are there any Chicanos in Shreveport?
Yes.
There are, really?
Yes.
I want my picture taken. I've got to take back some proof. Okay. So Chicanos are like a subculture. Well, we're like gosh, I really should have thought about that because I just know it intuitively. We're a culture that's denied by our mother culture, Mexico. They consider us bastard culturally. And we're a culture that's denied by the American culture because we're not totally assimilated. We're too close to the border. We're talking about the southwest band of states. So we're stuck in a middle area. So about 40, 50 years ago in San Antonio, Texas, the term was coined by a couple of philosophers and writers, and the Chicano movement was born. Carlos is one of Los Angeles, one of the most renowned Chicano painters. He's got a show coming up at the LA County Museum of Retrospect, which is the first retrospect for Mexican-American / Chicano artists. He worked in our studio for 14 years. He was one of my best friends. And this is a 38 color silkscreen print. A lot of people think it looks like a pastel, which it was originally. But when Carlos would come into the studio, we'd literally, layer by layer, make every mark on a sheet of acetate, shoot it on a screen, mix the color, match it, and then print it. And we keep going until he said it's done and it looks like the painting or the original. Awesome artist to work with, and one of, I think, really showcases our studio's ability. You know, every now and then when somebody looks at my work and goes, "You're so sloppy," I said, "Let me show you 185 color Robert Williams, and then you'll shut up about it." The other most renowned Chicano painter in Los Angeles, Frank Romero. That's one of his pieces. He likes to work fast and furious. So this is all brushwork on acetate. He just does the cell and he says, "Here's the color, Pantone, match it, print it, let's go, let's go." So he works fast and furious. This is Frank Romero's work also. This is a 39 color silkscreen. A lot of people just like, holy smokes, how'd you do this? This is actually a very simple Frank Romero, probably about 14 colors. I do a lot of work. I like either doing crazy pop schlock, see, or I like to do text-based pieces that riff on other artists. So the one on top is really a tip of the hat to Robert Indiana, the love piece. And this is a call out piece on the street to Mr. Who's seen all right, Terry, I've known for 12 years. Terry is a real piece of work, and even worse than the character you might have arrived at from that movie. Terry did something really foul that led to that me destroying $75,000 worth of those fantasies. And Terry also stole the punk image from me and posted it on the street as his own. So my thing is, I'm not the guy too old to get up and do the fisticuff stuff on the street that graffiti artists do to each other. But you can do a response and put it out there. So mine was fuck fake punk, which everybody knew I was calling Terry out on him ripping off people. Because Terry's made a career brainwashing. I'm basically ripping off Banksy. And the bottom piece is Great Faith, Great Effort. He's a Japanese poem. I did this piece, and very subtly it says on the bottom, the way of the artist. All right, this to me is, this particular Japanese koan is, they say you're constantly in a realm of doubt, or great faith and great effort. And I always thought, well, you know, that's kind of what happens in the artist's head. You're either like going, what the fuck am I doing? It's retarded. And then you have to pull yourself out of that and start believing in yourself. And then you have to put the effort to do it. And before you know it, you're back to doubt. So they said this is the swirling realms that you have to just stay focused and know that none of them exist. They just happen in your head. You just keep plowing ahead. So I thought I do this often, I do editions that I just give away. And in this case, this was an edition I did just to give the key artists I know who are going through a very difficult time in their careers. So I think it's always good karma. I always say, the other thing I say, besides the least amount of effort for the best return, another one is you got to give in order to get. So it's not uncommon for me to do 2 or 3 editions a year, and I just give them away to people. So catch me when I'm there. How we doing, time-wise? Nobody's starving, right? Okay, over here, the way when we were doing this editing, Megan and I upstairs last month, when we got a cluster together, I said, well, you know, if you really want to know, these are guys that come into the studio and I think their work is always riffing on chicks. So this is Sad or Ugly. This is a 27 color print. Sad or Ugly is from Mexico City. He does more wall pieces, but every now and then he does some weird elaborate silk screen or 2 or 3 colors. In this case, it was just, we got, once again, it's like plowing through a print. I'm 100% with them, behind any artist that we work with once they start. But I always know intuitively at the end of the day, that'll probably be buried, the whole edition in my coffin. There's prints that I know intuitively, after 35 years and 1,500 artists coming through our studio, you just kind of know, it's not a stinker, it's just, you realize it's going to be 2 or 3 people in the world that want to buy this. But we still support the artists we work with. The piece in the middle that looks like a watercolor wash is an artist named Andrew Foster in Los Angeles. And he does the same things. He riffs on girl stuff, faithfully and stuff like that. That's pretty good. The one that's on the upper left is Albert Reyes. So we got 2 Albert Reyes. That's called Easy Pants. If you go online or even Google his name, you'll see how pretty much out there he is. But everybody's thinking his momentum is getting to the point where he'll be his generation version of Raymond Pettibone, but we'll see. Time to tell it all. Megan asked is if there was progressives to show how print kind of evolves. This is for the guys, for all of us on the workshop that we're doing this weekend. This is a reductive print, which is as old as screen is, which is an open window on the screen that's being blocked back and the image reduced down to a finished piece with glue or block out. So there's no photo work in it. Somebody said, oh, there's photo work here, there's line drawing on it. So that was a grease pencil on the screen of the drawing, glue passed over it, and then lacquer thinner removing the grease pencil. And then we had a stencil with the line. So this young lady, Sandra, you've seen it, the Scorpio one up there, you can see on that progressive, she started trying to figure out where to go. I remember at this point she was confused because she started playing with pastels, trying to figure out where am I going with this? And then stopped and then figured it out. But I don't know if this makes sense. It's literally this window printed and then painted back. The line work done, and then opened again, and then painted back to pretend it was brown. She was trying to figure that out. And then that printed. So you start seeing the skull being shaped by reductive stencil work. That makes sense? I don't know. Yeah. And it progresses into all these versions until she got to the final piece up there. So this is a 14-color reductive print out of this simple square. It's kind of like reductive printing in linocut, which is what Dave Leffler does, but in silk screen. So this is the female artist. The last 5 months, we have 2 facilities, a really high-tech, production-oriented. We're doing right now a 350 print edition for Shepard Fairey in my studio. So that stuff has to be perfect because Shepard is a perfectionist. And then in the other studio, which is the resident studio, is where we just are total. I create an environment where whatever artist comes in, we let them play, I guess. You know, our sandbox for artists that want to explore. We have no expectations because, you know, we don't want them to feel any pressure. And it actually winds up creating an environment or an atmosphere for them where they feel safe. Which is, so they're not anxious little shaking poodles, because somebody asked me about the chop, the blind embossing. Our studio signature is a poodle. Because after 1,500 artists and 35 years of doing this, when they come into the studio and, you know, the king takes off the robe, because there's a persona out there, but when they're in a fine art print studio, where they know they're dealing with, you know, razor sharp craftsmen, that's when they get really scared. They start shaking like little poodles. You have to calm them down and, you know, coddle them and get them relaxed until they get work out of them. So at one point about 12 years ago, we decided to change our signature for our studio to a poodle. So. And our slugline model is grooming artists for over 35 years. Anyway, 5 months ago, I said the resident studio, we're going analog. Because everything is files, discs, artists come in with sticks, CDs. Oh no, I'll email it to you. Put it on a cloud, download it, rip the film. Call me up when it's time to show up and sign. And I was getting pretty tired that the craft and the process between an artist and a craftsman and printmaker was slowly becoming basically Kinko's reproduction. High end, it wasn't happening. So we took the original studio, the oldest studio, and I said, anybody coming through these doors, it's analog from this point on. So all these artists have come in, and this is the key. And I said, draw it, no film, because she said, oh, I've got my idea on a stick. I said, no, the key, you're going to start from scratch and you're going to learn how to do a print traditionally, which was the case with her, with Teal. This is about a 14-color reduction print, if you can believe that, just like hers. Cassandra was a 14 color reduction print. So it's been strange that in the last 5 months, we've had back-to-back female artists coming through the show. So I thought, once I brought a good cross-section of this work, maybe and said, hey, let's do a version of this. This is by far, for the last 15 years, her name is Becca. And she's going to be doing some walls here, or sending some pieces out. She predates Swoon, who's the hottest street artist out of New York, cut out the blocks, posting. Becca started like 15 years before Swoon, but the world lost her because, guess what, she left LA and moved to middle Texas or nowhere. And people forgot about her. But she just came back to LA and her career is picking up again. The key new artist that we brought in never did a print, blew up everybody's mind. Seal never did a print, brought her in, walked her through, held her hand, came out with a gorgeous 14-color print. This is Dee Dee Cheriel, and this is Becca again. Becca just did this on the fly in about 2 hours. When we work in the analog, you can actually work faster than, okay, give me the thing, rip the film, code the screen, shoot the screen, block out the screen. 3 days later, you're ready to print. When it's direct on the screen, it happens really fast. The artist in the landscape piece is Camille Rose Garcia. I don't think I brought any of it. We started with Camille about 12 years ago when nobody would give her the time of day. She's like one of the hottest artists again. They're calling it pop surrealism now. Because lowbrow started separating into different groups, and she now falls under pop surrealism. You're a friend of ours. That is about maybe a 15, 16. When it goes back to 2002, I'm really pushing my brain trying to remember. But probably about 14 to 15 colors, and you can see the glitter.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had to silk screen that pattern. This is just skull and crossbone. You can see which part through various areas. Silk screen those elements with an adhesive, and then pour the glitter and shake it off. Sonia Romero, who's out of RISD, the daughter of Frank Romero. She's like about 27. I've known her since she was a toddler. She finally came back from RISD, back to LA. I said, what was your major? She said, I got into printmaking. I said, cool, come to the studio. So Sonia is now one of our famous artists, our favorite artists that we publish, because she's found a really great audience and support from Europe to LA. So what I'm saying is I publish her. So she's giving us a lot of momentum and cash. This is, because I've been doing this pop decorative block shit for about 3 decades. A lot of my dealers, I've got a great dealer, Art Republic in London, that distributes all my work in Europe. And, I have to deliver what, they don't tell me, they don't art direct me, but I get from pieces that are sold what market they found for me, which is pop, musician, portraiture. So, Jimmy is mine, Duke is mine. This is, like I said, the most current thing that I just did in May. This is the original print as I envisioned it. So Luca said, I want to hit it. So we only did 9 of those. And the Hendrix estate were cool with allowing those to live, but they really went for this pop thing. And that's really just a version of, I think it's called Electric Ladyland, the album. Anyway, when they came with me and they said, do something with this, I said, it's perfect already. I said, do something with this, do a Durado thing with this. Well, it required me, because when I was a teenager, I smoked my pot, put my headset on, and stared at that album cover. So I'm like going, you're asking me to desecrate the most incredible photographic image of my life. And they said, we're paying you. I said, okay. So that's what I did. This is an artist by the name of Oscar Magdalena, who works principally on the computer. So this whole, his stuff it's a nice, I guess you call it a posterization. But to me, it's just tweaking dot, right? Some of you graphic designers, you know how to posterize something and hit the button and it's cooked. So he's great to work with, but I don't know, I'm not impressed. This is for the workshop people. I should have walked you through this one. This, see that sloppy pattern in there? That's the stencil. And that's me carding in gray and then pulling it. So from print to print, I got this effect. The background, same thing, carding and manipulating. So this is really a two-color print or two stencils manipulated. And if you look inside the face, that's all watercolor. I didn't want to get into making 3 or 4 stencils to get this volumetric face. I just thought I'll just slump it on my watercolor. And I was too lazy to cut another stencil, so I cut the shape out and just sprayed that in there. This is just a super pop portrait that was commissioned by one of her suitors. Yeah. He left his, about this, here's a clue. He left Christina Aguilera for her. And then got me to do this and did a whole wall in his house. So I would say borderline, what do they call it?
Stalker.
Stalker, thank you. In 1995, I resisted for almost 10 years because the Frida phenomenon kicked in with that publication by that author up in San Francisco, the book, big thick book, it's Frida, which made Frida blow up, and then Donna gave it a little kick by buying every Frida painting she could get her hands on and building up the market, which has now positioned Frida Kahlo is the most collected Mexican artist in Brooklyn, which is pretty awesome, correction of the record, which is cool. And for years, friends were saying, all this pop shit, why don't you do Frida? I said, no. 1995, I said, okay, whatever. So this is a photograph by a Hungarian photographer living in New York, working for Vogue. And when Diego and Frida came to New York to do the Rockefeller building, she was putzing around New York and having a good time. And then I guess Vogue magazine, because they were a phenomenon, right? They was set up a photo shoot. It's the first time she allowed herself to be really, made up. And that was supposed to be the cover of Vogue magazine, and then the political fallout happened, they were ostracized and out. So it never made it to cover, but that picture by this Hungarian floated around for a while. So when I said, okay, I'll do Frida, I just don't want to do, the unibrow Frida or the angry Frida. I found this picture, scanned it, blew it up, and did it very pop style like Warhol big dots. But this is all watercolor with silk screen. So this is an HPM. So rather than spend 28 colors to try to reproduce this, I would just print the image, watercolor it, and print on top of it again. And I became the go-to guy for all things Frida in terms of portraiture, which was kind of exhausting. And in 2002, I got a phone call, which I thought was a crank call, from Selma Hayek. And I said, yeah, right, Selma. Click. Call back. No, really, this is Selma Hayek, and I'm doing a film with Julie Taymor, Frida, and I'm at Miramax's office with Gil, whatever his name, and I'm looking at this Frida. I said, yeah. She goes, I want you to do me the way you did that Frida. So it became I don't know, you saw the film, or who has the DVD? It still has that portrait of her on the front, right? Well, that's the key art I did for for that film. Yeah. So you can see my sloppy paint. Yeah. Because I had to do 120 before they picked the third one they saw. That's why I just got sloppy and sloppier when I was filming it. Anyway, so one day I met a 22-year-old kid who busted out a little maquette out of his graffiti book. First graffiti, and then boom, I saw this about that big in a book. And I said, what the F? And I said, dude, you're the guy that's going to take the heat off of me. So we brought him into the studio, and his name is Raul Caracosa, and I think he's done the most beautifully graphic. I mean, there's dozens and dozens of Frida prints out there by various art. Everybody's riffed on Frida. But I thought he did one of the most elegant pieces, and it was my pleasure to bring him into the studio, produce his work, and table my stuff and start pushing this artist. The piece up above, I'm pretty, it's called Three Lords. So, Lord Buddha, Lord Tracy, you know who she is, right?
Yes.
Burden, Lord Christ, and I was doing, I've had various incarnations of life. I ran a record label, opened up and closed a couple galleries, did a line of furniture. When I get bored writing a print studio, I'm bored with myself and my schlock art. I try to do something different. And in 1992, I decided to start producing graves. In Los Angeles. Only because I wanted to do grave art. Subliminal messages for kids on MTMA. So the message is down below says, you know, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Mine is embedded with supercalifragilistic fractal, listic, X, and lots of doses. This is the stuff that is a continuation of the pop portraiture stuff that I do, but it's more directed to, you know, the female iconography that everybody would do ad nauseum from Warhol. Once again, I'm just another guy lining it up, cranking out stuff, but I'm having fun with what I do. I kind of consider what I do deconstructing icons, and regarding like what is it, rights?
Copyright?
Yeah, I knew because I got a hold of her, and I said, and of course, you know, I don't know if you know, towards at the end of her days, she was denying everything about what she did with the feed. And I'm very happy about anybody resurrecting her life, let alone that movie that came out. So when she said, I'm not interested, I'm going to go after you if you do. But she never did. So I said, look, I can change a couple things and you can't touch me, which is, and I did send her, I'm sure she probably tore them up. But I thought, okay, I'm going to send you half the edition because it was very small. But anyway, I said I'm going to change it one from B-E-T-T-I-E and eliminate the I in the page, because that's the way she spells it. And I'm going to give you the way I want to spell your name. It was fun. Anyway, that's it. Amen. Any questions?
This is incredible. What I have is more comments than questions. I wondered if anyone had shared with you the Conrad Albrizio fresco that's at the Louisiana State Exhibit Museum.
No.
It's a 780-foot mural by Mexican-American artist commenting on the Catholic Church and slavery in Louisiana.
His name is
Conrad Albrizio.
Is it like posted online?
And he
I get the spelling from you.
okay, it's incredible, and it's extremely political. And looking at your collection, it just makes me think, boy, you really enjoy seeing that.
Yeah, maybe somebody I should be working with.
It's
That's
well,
cool.
he
I
does.
should like the WPA.
Yeah, it was
It was a WPA.
Yeah, it's a WPA.
It's
decided pencil and not ink?
Because lead is traditionally used by, in most print forever because it's an inert material, so it'll never break down, unlike pen and drawings, like some of these Da Vinci drawings and whatever, if you notice how faded they are. Were done, I'm sure the ink was really dark when he drew them, but that is one of the most fleeting elements if you're going to draw or paint with is ink. And the most reliable one is, of course, either lead or charcoal. Yeah. So it's a tradition.
So why on the watercolor did you choose to print on top of the beginning? Like there's
Oh,
no-
because it tracks everything. I print.
That's what I'm interested in.
Well, if you look at the final color, I actually print that first in almost like a light rust.
Okay, so.
So I can see the image, and then we watercolor. And I work where's, say hello. Brittany has been with me, she's helping me in the workshop. We brought her in from Maryland, Micah. She's been with me since the age of 11 as my assistant in premise. Now she's long as an artist herself, but she was my go-to girl for doing all the underpainting. So I'll do a couple maquettes and I'll go, please, try to make it look like that, and I'll go out and hit a bar. And then I'll come back and they're all done, and then put it through the press again, print the black, and then all the overpainting gets trapped in it. It's a trick. See, sorry, I have tricks.
Why icons? Why not something less shocking?
Oh, because it pays the bills right now.
35 years.
It's rough. You don't want to hear my sad story. Jerry McLean. No, I have an enormous overhead because I take care of, well, at one point, about 4 months ago, we had to downsize, but I have about a staff of 7, 2 buildings, and gosh, there is no money in printmaking as a service, as a skill, which is tragic because it's really a craft. But people are not willing to pay more than, or what you're even worth. Like I said, it's irrational that Banksy 4-color print on rag paper cost $32 in production, knowing that as soon as it left the studio, well, initially it was $600, and then it kept going, because Applause is one of the most sought-after prints from the Los Angeles show. It got at the height of the market, it got up to $14,000 a print. So it's totally rational, the intrinsic cost of the goods. Let's talk about it as goods. It's a product. It costs $32 to produce that product. So we took that lead signature to just leap over and become a $14,000 item. You know what I'm saying? So going back to the production side, knowing that when I have to haggle with my clients on a bid and say, you know, I'd like to charge $35 a unit, they go, oh my God, Richard, it's not in my budget. I need this at 30. And it's sort of, okay, we'll do it at 30. Because I know we'll get our 6 printer screws. I'll lose money doing the production. My 6 printer screws, I'll take one of those and flip it, and that would be my profit from a job I should have gotten paid for. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
So when I started my studio, it took me a year to realize I'm working for nothing. So I got to figure something out. So I started doing my own work to subsidize my print studio. And then I got tired of doing my work to subsidize my print studio, so I started inviting artists in. So I mentioned it a couple times. For 35 years, there's been about 1,500 artists that have been in our studio. And of those 1,500, I'd say about 350 of them we've brought in and published them, which has given us a $1.9 million inventory that we sell, and it supports the print studio, which is constantly hemorrhaging money. So that's why I do schlocky stuff to shovel the money into the studio that I love and don't want to see it go down, because we've just shrunk down from 7 to 3 employees, trying to survive this, what's going on.
When your studio is commissioned to do a Shepherd variant print and an additional 300 copies, how many sheets do you have to print to get that 350?
The standard is you're supposed to print 10% extra paper for every color you print. So we had this discussion earlier today with the workshop. As I said, for instance, that Police and Justice piece, we just did that 3 months ago, I think, of Amanda. Okay, the stock is white, so we put down that cream color because that's the color of choice that he likes his paper to be. There's gold, right? Black, there's red. That's usually Shepherd's palette for production runs. And if I was running 100 pieces and I had to deliver 100 perfect pieces, I have to account for a 10% loss per color. Does that make sense? So that would be 40 extra sheets. Everybody following me? Right? Our loss rate is 0.02. That
Yes, we should.
yeah. So that's a testament to the people that work in my studio. They are on their shit, as they say on the street. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a question. So a while back when the whole Banksy, explosion happened, I know some kids on the street, they started to emulate that style. And you couldn't tell at first, if it was a real Banksy or not. And I don't know, I want to get your thoughts on that versus, whether it's just trying to get attention, just to garner it, or maybe through what they've created, emulating his style, mimicking it, and creating social awareness.
I think they're just emulating the style because they like it. And there's like 2 or 3 books already.
Yeah.
But you know what? If people keep doing that, they evolve into their own style.
Yeah.
As in the case of Deffer, Chaz has influenced a half a dozen artists that have evolved, mutated into their own style.
Yeah.
Luca is one, and Deffer is one. In that, there's in the magazine, there's a book that you pop in and you'll see Redna's work. You'll see Redna's or Chaz's influence on Redna. But I think they have to start that way. I mean, Redna started following Chaz when he was 9 years old with his book, going up to pieces and copying it and then practicing, and then you start to mutate. Because at that point, you're really good at copying somebody's so what's that mean? A copy, right? And then they start altering, creating their own by evolving. So I think that happens in the same thing with artists that want to emulate anything. There's 2 or 3 artists already that are riffing on Shepherd's color palette that immediately said, oh, Shepherd Fairy. But Shepherd is getting a little bit more deconstructed because a lot of people believe they're too designed, right? And they may be prints and they may be selling for a lot of money, but some of them are just too composed, We're done, right? The question about the shoe size is 10 and a half.
That was
My pleasure.
Thank you.